It affects men and women, and it's the second leading cancer killer in the U.S., which is astounding, considering it's almost entirely preventable. Here's how. Most colon cancers start as polyps, and screening helps find polyps so they can be removed before they even turn into cancer. Screening also finds this cancer early, when treatment works best. For me, screening was simple and quick. It was no big deal, except for the huge sense of relief you feel afterwards. There are several tests that you can choose from. If you're 50 or older, you should talk to your doctor. Decide which one's right for you. Take control.
Talk 1470, WWNN, Pompano Beach, Boca Raton, Miami, Fort Lauderdale. AM 1470, WNN. Listen live at WWNNradio.com and like us on Facebook. Search AM 1470 WWNN. What you want to know. What you need to know. Talk 1470 WNN.
I'm in almost every school bus and classroom. I go to school with your children. We say the Pledge of Allegiance together. You see me around the neighborhood, and you tell me that I'm a pretty good kid. Well, I'm one out of every 5 children in America, and I'm struggling with hunger. This problem is closer than you think. My teacher tells me we can grow up to be whatever we want. I want to grow up to be someone who doesn't go to bed hungry. There's enough food in this country to feed everybody. Please visit feedingamerica.org today and find your local food bank for ways to help. Every dollar you donate helps provide 8 meals for kids like me, quietly struggling with hunger. Together, we are Feeding America, brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
I'll never forget that moment.
Never forget that moment.
As long as I live.
As long as I live.
It started with a phone call.
I got the text when I was at work.
My first call up ever as a member of the National Guard. This was it, the real deal.
When we got to the armory, they briefed us on the wildfires, how they were getting dangerously close to homes.
It was amazing to be a part of this massive operation. Helicopters were going up with huge buckets to drop water on the fires. Some of the guys in the unit were preparing for firefighting with local fire crews.
We went out in Humvees to help with the evacuations.
At that moment, I got my first taste of just how important the Guard is to my community.
See how the Guard can be an important part of your life at NationalGuard.com. Discover what it means to be a citizen soldier, to serve locally as well as globally. Look into the benefits, including career skills and money for college. Take a moment. Go to NationalGuard.com today.
Sponsored by the Florida National Guard. Aired by the Florida Association of Broadcasters and this station.
I definitely feel like the words veteran and homeless should never go together.
Sergeant Michelle Garcia served meritoriously in Iraq and Afghanistan.
I had friends, and I went and stayed at a friend's house, and then I realized, well, you're staying at your friend's house, but how long can you stay there? Where are you going to go? Where are you going to call home?
Lieutenant Richard Stokely took the skills he learned in Vietnam and put them to use as a paramedic. But after they left the service, these veterans had problems with homelessness. Michelle lost all her savings, and Richard battled alcoholism for years.
It started taking me down, all the way down to the point where I lost my family, and I ended up homeless.
A simple phone call to 877-424-3838 put them in touch with the Department of Veterans Affairs. If you are a veteran in need, or you know a veteran who is homeless or at risk of being homeless, call 877-424-3838 or visit va.gov/homeless.
Are you thinking about getting your GED diploma? Well, here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we've got a number of pep talks that can motivate you.
Sometimes things don't always turn out the way you want them to.
You know that feeling? People look at you and don't believe in you.
You want some gentle encouragement. Then you're on your way to your GED diploma and a better life.
But I know they're probably just a little bit nervous. You can find it in yourself to take that first step.
You can improve your future. You can do this. I know you can.
You need to start pushing yourself.
Now get your game face on and take the first step towards a better life. Hurry up. Don't make me repeat myself.
Whatever level of motivation you need to get your GED diploma, we've got a pep talk that's right for you. Call 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or visit yourged.org for your pep talk and find free GED classes in your area. GED is a registered trademark of the American Council on Education. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
I'll never forget that moment.
As long as I live.
It was a moment.
It was a moment that changed my life.
We looked down from the chopper and saw the whole area was flooded.
At that moment, it really hit me. This is why I joined the Guard.
People had gone up to the rooftops to escape the rising waters.
Talk about intense moments. We had to lower the guys on line some 30 feet down.
The opinions expressed in the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of the station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to the Golf and Travel Show, the place to fine-tune your swing, dress for the course, club, or cruise, and get tips on the best places to play and stay at the right price. Vacation or staycation, host Dan Schub, along with his expert co-hosts and guests, will tell you where to go. To play golf and vacation, that is. Now, here's Dan.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Golf and Travel Show. I'm your host, Jess Frank. Tonight, as usual, we will be talking some golf and some travel. And we have a great show for you tonight in store. In just a few minutes, we'll be chatting with Chris Wilczynski of CW Golf Architecture and Kelly Perez of X-Run. Of course, we'll have your golf tip of the week and Dan's travel deals too, but first, I'd like to introduce you to my co-host who's on location, Mr. Dan Schub. Dan, are you with us?
Hey, Jess. How you doing? It's great to be with you. I am right now at the Mirage in Las Vegas.
Ah, yes. I got to keep up with Dan's travels. Where is Dan?
It's a nice property right here on the Center Strip, and tonight I'm going to be seeing Cirque du Soleil's show Love, about with all the Beatles music. So that should be a lot of fun, and the Mirage is, it's a great place. I'm here for a Labor Finders convention that we're running for company-owned offices, and they do a great job here. Had lunch yesterday at Bare Pool, B-A-R-E. Kind of fits with perhaps our guest later with the X-Run, but the people here from the Mirage took us to lunch there, and wow. I got to tell you, I like the way they roll.
They don't spare expense out there in Vegas. They want to impress.
They really do, and this pool and the people swimming in it, very impressive, I must say.
Yeah, the architecture for one of our guests is very nice out there as well. So so in any event, so I'm having a great time, and tomorrow I head to Vail, Colorado, and I'll be playing the Vail Golf Club on Sunday, and we will be having the general manager of the Vail Golf Club on with us next week, and we'll find out a little bit about the difficulties of being a mountain resort that gets snow right to May, and what they need to do to get themselves in shape and ready to play for the summer. So, and what it's like to have such a short season and be able to maintain a golf course as well. So that should be quite interesting too. So, I'm doing a little bit of running around, and that's why I'm the host of the Golf and Travel Show, I guess. That's right. You have to experience everything, and you also have a day job as well. So it's something that it comes with the territory, Dan. So it's all good, but.
It does, and again, so I'm here in Las Vegas for my day job for business, and then it's like, well, okay, I'm in Las Vegas. Well, where else can I go from here? Now that I'm here,
Why not Vail, right? Right up the road.
And why not?
Yeah.
Why not? I'm not a skier, so I don't typically get to go to ski resorts, but playing golf at high altitude, it should be different. I'm probably going to hit the ball a good 30 or 40 yards longer than I'm used to. And the vistas and the scenery of the Rocky Mountains should be very, very cool. So I'm really looking forward to it, and we'll talk all about it next week, I guess. So what am I missing? What's going on? How's the weather in Florida? What's happening out there on the practice tee? What you got going on?
Today was really a glorious day. It was just so nice. Probably mid-70s, slight breeze. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better day, especially after the couple 100-degree days that we've had here this past week. I think what happened was the rain came in and kind of
brought in some cooler weather, and I think there would be like 10 million people down here if the weather was like this all year round. So it's
lucky you.
It'd be good for me.
You and your students.
Exactly.
Enjoy the beautiful weather. They get to improve their golf game. So my guess is you were probably out there on the practice tee and giving somebody a lesson, and it's probably something our listeners can benefit from too, right?
How'd you guess? I didn't really
know.
Yeah, I don't know how you.
Maybe after doing this together for almost 2 years, I finally kind of figured out the format here. Huh?
I'm surprised you put up with me for 2 years. That's all I gotta say. So, but
all I know is I just hope that a lot of our listeners have definitely improved their game.
Yes, they have to have benefited from us and our tips. But yeah, from all our golf tips. Hopefully, we didn't confuse them too badly. But yeah, actually, I was out on the course today, and shockingly, that had a couple juniors out with me, and you know, as you know, and as our listeners, you know, who faithfully listen every week know, my biggest my biggest thing in teaching is taking people on the golf course and having them, you know, practice where they actually play, like most other sports do. And I had the fortunate time today to have 3 juniors in a row this afternoon who really were good players and hit the ball really well. But what separates a lot of these junior golfers who are really good players from the player that is struggling to break 90 is the short game. And when I say short game, I think it's mainly from about 50 yards and in. Because these kids are pretty good with their full swings. It's just what happens is that a 12-year-old who's hitting shots from 50 yards and in can struggle a little bit. And so what I find is that, and this is not only the 12-year-old, but it's also the 50-year-old or the 60-year-old or anybody in between, is that making solid contact with the golf ball is so important for those short shots. It's important for driving, it's important for long shots, but to hit the green, you must make contact with the little ball, the golf ball, before the big ball, the earth. And if you don't do that on a consistent basis, it's going to be very difficult for you to hit a lot of greens, even if you might have a square club face and make a really good golf swing. So that's something that I definitely encourage a lot of our, all of our listeners to do, and all my students, anytime I work with somebody, is to make the same bottom of the swing each and every time. And so what we do is I always like to use my gate drill where I set up 2 tees on the hosel part of the shaft, or on the side of the club, and then the right side of the head on the toe side, and make people swing like they're swinging the club head through a gate, and so they can see where they're making contact with the ground. And this is, I always say, this is the number one fundamental in golf. If you can make contact with the ground in the same spot every time, that separates the expert player from the player who is struggling a little bit. And so this is so important with the short game and the short shots, is that because it takes a lot of touch and it takes a lot of feel, and it's a different pace swing. You're not swinging all out, you're not swinging at 90, 100%. This is like a 50% swing, a 60% swing on rhythm and tempo and timing. And so when you do that and you execute it and you make the same bottom of the swing and you strike the ball first and then the turf after, this helps you a tremendous amount. And so, that's kind of what I instilled in my players today, and something that I talk about every day and each time I give a lesson, because I think it's so important, and something that if you can give somebody the mindset and tell them and show them and tell them, this is where you need to have the club hit the ground. And instinctively, I think people can react to that. And even if you're not the greatest athlete in the world, you can manage to get a pretty square club face and the club bottoming out at the correct spot. And sometimes what I'll also do is I'll paint a line on the ground, use some chalk, paint a chalk line right on the ground. And I'll have them hit right across the chalk line. I say, okay, well, this time you hit 3 inches behind the chalk line. This time you missed the chalk line. This time you hit way in front of the chalk line. So we have to get the club to bottom out right on that chalk line. And if we can do that, and we can make that happen on a continuous basis, there's going to be some big improvement in our golf games, and it's something that I know you don't struggle with, Dan, because you hit the ball solidly on a consistent basis, especially playing in those high altitude regions. But yeah, that's so important, and also it builds people's confidence when they start hitting the ball on a consistent basis, nice and solid. They start to get some belief, and when they believe in themselves, they gain confidence. They hit a lot of good shots. It's really, really good. So absolutely.
Consistency is the key to golf, truly, because even if you could drive the ball only 100 yards, but if you do it every single time and you know exactly how far each club is going to go every time, you could still score really low. So, guys like me or some other higher handicappers, you can hit it 230, 240, 250, but if you can't do it consistently, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Consistency, I think, truly is the key. I apologize for all the noise around here. They're setting up all these different locations for, maybe if you didn't hear about it, there's a big fight going on here tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, that's small. Yeah. I think there's some sort. Are you going to the event tomorrow?
I am not.
Okay.
I'm leaving to go to Val tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, yes, I forgot.
We thought about getting tickets, but when they first came out, they started at about $6,000.
Well, it's just an expense. All right. Well,
let me hang on for a second.
Yep.
Why don't you cut to the break, and then I'll take care of our first sponsor spot, and then I'll turn it over to you. And I know you're going to have a fun time with these guests.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dan. Show. And I'm going to throw it back to you, Dan, for one of our sponsors.
Absolutely.
Yep.
For my favorite sponsor,
Absolutely.
and that, of course, would be none other than the Jess Frank Golf Academy, which is the home of the Playing Lesson, and my co-host, Jess Frank, who for 15 years has been improving golfers' ball striking consistency and distance. He's a PGA teaching professional and the owner of the Jess Frank Golf Academy, located in Boca Raton at the beautiful Boca Dunes Golf and Country Club. So if you're a seasoned golfer who's trying to break 80 or a beginner, Jess is passionate to help you play better golf and have a lot of fun while doing it. Each lesson includes on-course time with V1 video analysis, focusing on improving all facets of your game. And for limited time, new students who mention the Golf and Travel Show will receive a $50 Edwin Watts gift card with the purchase of a series of lessons. And by the way, don't forget, summer junior golf camp is coming up soon. There are sessions throughout the month of June, so you don't want to miss that. Get your kids started young. They'll be much happier when they're adults like us when they started young. So to learn more about the services of the Jess Frank Golf Academy, as well as the summer junior golf camp, call 561-213-8579. That's 561-213-8579, or visit JessFrankGolf.com. Also check out Jess's videos on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
Dan, thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy your weekend in Vail, and go set the course record out there, would you?
It may be one of the best rounds this year because they're just open.
That's right. Low score of the year.
We'll talk more about it on Friday. Have fun with our guests.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dan. Thank you very much. And we'll be back with one of our guests right soon. And we're back with the Golf and Travel Show. And up next, we have a really, really special guest, Chris Wilczynski of CW Golf Architecture, a subject near and dear to my heart because I'm always on the golf course and love to see really neat golf courses and playable courses as well. And Chris has Golf Digest Magazine's Best New Courses in 2014. And Chris, are you with us tonight?
Yes, I am.
Good evening, sir. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Congratulations on your the Best New Courses of 2014 at the Esplanade Golf and Country Club of Lakewood Ranch near Sarasota, and also the Esplanade Golf and Country Club of Naples.
Thank you very much. Thank you. They were fun projects, and they were projects that were first as far as new residential golf course developments in Florida. So I think they were the first ones built since like 2008. So it was a good sign for the golfing economy to have some new projects like that built.
Yeah, absolutely. After, golf has taken a beating over the last few years, and to see something like that pop up again, that's a great sign for our economy and the golf industry itself.
Right.
And why don't you talk a little bit about how you got started as a golf course architect?
Sure, absolutely. It kind of really started with my father. My father was a golf course superintendent. He studied turfgrass management science at Michigan State University. And so I was always on golf courses, loved to be on the golf course outside, and then I also was very artistic growing up. So the two kind of putting those two together, like to draw, like to be creative. Been around golf my whole life. I studied landscape architecture at Michigan State University, and it's kind of a blend of all those things, being artistic and studying about landscape architecture. And then I actually started working for golf course architect Arthur Hills, who was very prolific throughout Florida. But Arthur Hills, I started working for him when I was 17 years old in high school, and then worked all through college for him, and then worked for him in the end for almost 25 years before I started my own company. So that was kind of my path. It was really started with my dad and just being around golf really my whole life.
Now, do you play a little bit as well?
I do. Like some of the people that I know in my peers within my industry, that was really their first love was golf, and that's how they got into it. I love golf, but I didn't really start playing passionately until I was probably in my 30s and 40s. A lot of these guys that are other architects that I know, they start playing when they were kids, and that was their main entrance into the field. But for me, it was a little bit more just being creative and designing things, and then learning about golf and loving golf and falling in love with golf and then playing. But yeah, I do play. It's tough up here in Michigan though, because we're kind of off for like 5 months of the year, so sure. It's hard to keep a good game.
Yeah, but you have basketball during those times, so you can, Michigan State Spartans, absolutely. But you got a great coach up there. But yeah, so obviously, for somebody like Arthur Hills to take you on, as a kind of a student and groom you and everything, he must have seen, definitely he had an eye for the artistic part of the business, because that's really what it is when you go into a piece of land and you have to shape it and create it and see different things. That there's a lot more detail than people realize, because most people just see the end project. They don't see what happens before then. So, could you talk a little bit about what goes on? First of all, working with Arthur Hills and what that was like.
Yeah, sure. I mean, to answer kind of both those questions, he was great to work for. He, very successful in his own right, still practicing to this day, but it was, in the 80s and the 90s and early 2000s. I mean, he was one of the most prolific architects doing work all throughout the United States and even some worldwide work, and was very sought after. But anyways, he taught me everything. He taught me, about golf course design and, how to build a good golf course. He was also a very good business person. Like, he ran a good business, and he taught me about, running business and how to treat clients and things like that. And then as far as the process goes, it really is for starters, it's a long process. Like, those Esplanade courses took almost 3 years, from this time that we started until the time that people are playing them. So that's one thing that takes a long time is to design and construct and get it open. But you really got to have the vision to be able to see the big picture of the whole thing. So it's they're large pieces of property. You're talking 1,000 to 2,000 acres, and you got to be able to plan the entire community and lay out the golf course and be able to envision each hole and design each hole. And through the process as it's being built, you have to kind of adapt and let the holes evolve, and they don't always exactly end up like you envision them from day one, because they do kind of evolve, and they're living, breathing things. And then there's like for those Florida projects, they were dead flat pallets, so we had to create all the forms and the undulations and throughout the golf course. You have to create that dimension. It's a lot different than building a golf course in Michigan, where you have a natural palette to work within, and you're just kind of laying the holes on the land. In Florida, you're manufacturing everything, so you have to be a lot more creative to make sure that you have 18 good holes and you don't have repetition, and every hole is unique and interesting. And then on top of the designing the golf course, I also do all the landscaping. So all the landscaping throughout the entire golf course is all planned out and thought through, and I locate every physical tree and bush. And so to me, it's the big picture. It's when you stand on the tee, I want to create a product or a picture that's beautiful, that people stand there and like, wow, that's my first goal, is to make the aesthetic and the beauty of it just really, really impressive. And then the other part is the playability. Is it fun? I mean, I think we can make a golf course as hard as we can possibly make it. I mean, the U.S. Open is a good example of that. They throw the rough up, they make the screen small and fast, and so I think we can make the golf course hard. I think the real challenge is how do you make it fair and fun for the masses, the people that pay the bills, and the people that come to the golf courses on a regular basis, because we all know that the average golfer's game is pretty much the same as it's been for the last 20 to 30 years. We're not getting much better, but so how can we make the course fun and playable, yet it needs to be hard? We can kind of do that by toughening up some stuff.
Yeah, and that's something that, very interesting. I was at the PGA Teaching and Coaching Summit this past January, February, and Greg Norman was one of the speakers up there, and as you know, he's a big-time golf architect as well. And he was talking about that, the exact same thing, the playability for the future of golf. And it's something that, he doesn't want to make the 72 or 7,500 yard courses anymore, because number one, it's just too expensive to maintain. And then number two, people, it's not fun for people that are average players that just want to go out and play golf and enjoy themselves and actually maybe shoot a decent score or two. So, that's absolutely something I agree with, and sounds like, you're right on, hit it right on the head with these new golf communities.
Yeah, my client, that was kind of their objective from day one too, was playability. They had seen what had happened in the golf industry in the 2000s, and golf courses becoming harder and harder, and so we really tried to, there's a lot of water in both courses, but we really tried to keep the water off to the sides. You weren't hitting, having to cross the water on a regular basis, and we tried to keep the green fronts open and build a little bit bigger greens with subtle contours. They didn't need to be, crazy undulations, but just subtle contours. And so, I think we've accomplished that, because the feedback we've had from golfers that have played both courses, talk about the playability, talk about how much fun it is and how beautiful it is. So hopefully it's a trend that we work toward for the future, and so the game can be fun and we can continue on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That is always one of the things that kind of amazed me, is that, I'm surrounded in Boca Raton, and I'm surrounded by golf course communities here, and how the architects were able to weave the golf courses through the homes and just make it playable where the homes aren't right on top of the golf course. I mean, there are some communities like that, but they're still managed to make it really a pretty course to play. So, and is that a challenge for you? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a balance, because because you talk about weaving the golf course through the home, it's really in those types of projects, the homes come first. I mean, that's the developer, that's what they're in the business to do, and the golf course is an amenity. So a lot of times, we're giving these corridors or these spaces for these golf holes, and we have to try to figure out how to create the best holes we can within those spaces, and also get the right width. Obviously the developer wants more lots, more homes to sell, and we're kind of battling for more width, more playable areas. So we're battling for two different things, and width is a really important part of playability. You probably play golf courses that are narrow, meaning like the corridor from one side to the other, as far as how close the homes are to the hole. And so the more width we have, the better. The golf courses that like Corin Crenshaw and Tom Doak and Gil Haynes are doing right now, if you play those courses, they're all about width. You can hit it just about anywhere off the tee. It may not be the ideal angle, but they have the width to play the game. And like Art Hills used to tell me, you got to be able to hit the ball, find it, and hit it again. Width is a big part of that.
Yeah, I've played a bunch of Tom Fazio courses and Arthur Hills courses, and what I love about that is when you're on the green and you look back down the fairway to the tee box, it's like you can see how it's laid out. It's really, really cool, and I always appreciate those type of aesthetics where you can, coming from the tee box, you see the bunkers looking back down the fairway, you can't see them at all. So